Well, hello, hello. What if I told you that one push of a button could replace an hour or more of searching for stats before you record your podcast? This can be done with automation and AI, but by redesigning everything that has to happen before the podcaster can actually do what the audience came for. Today, I am going to show you how I would build a revenue system for an NBA sports podcaster. And then I also have a special treat where I'm going to show you how I would build a new revenue stream into that podcaster's system. I call this approach save more and make more. And then I'm going to show you how to save more time and money. And then after that, how to make more money or more revenue. Even if you have absolutely nothing to do with sports, even if your profession has nothing to do with podcasting, I just want you to stay with me because this process that we're designing today, it shows up in a lot of professional service businesses. And you can also get some ideas from this presentation. Sometimes you have information somewhere and you have to go find it, copy it, organize it, check it, and then you can actually do the work that you're getting paid to do. And today we are going to redesign that. Welcome to Revenue Systems Live. I am Keitha McAdams, the founder of Successful Solutions and your favorite business process automation consultant. I build systems that sell while you sleep. And every week, I take a real professional service business and I ask this question. If I were hired tomorrow, how would I redesign this business or their process? If you're watching live, please introduce yourself in the chat. Tell me what you do, where you're from. I would love to hear from you. And thank you for watching. Now, if you're also interested in seeing how business process automation can change the way a professional service business operates, then subscribe to this channel because that is exactly what we do here every Wednesday. Now, if this is your first time here, I want to explain something about my approach to automation. I don't just start with software, I start with the business. I want to know things like what is the person doing? Where's their time going? Where are decisions being made? And where's their information moving to and from? And then where is someone doing repetitive work that a system could literally do for them? And that last part is really important because my goal is not to automate the expertise out of a business. That's not possible. My goal is to protect the expert's time and to create more revenue as effortlessly as possible. And you're going to see exactly what I mean today because what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce you to Alex. He's our NBA sports podcaster. Then we're going to walk through his current game day preparation process. And then we're going to identify the bottleneck. And then after that, I'm going to redesign the process and show you what I like to call the courtside brief app. And then we're going to look at how one output can create 4 useful outputs. Then we'll finish with the part where that I love the most, which is the impact that it makes on the business and the revenue that it adds to Alex. Because automation isn't valuable because it works. It needs to create a meaningful change in the business and make an impact. We want to save time and improve consistency and increase capacity and avoid as many errors as possible. We want to give the owner more room to grow, the business room to grow. So keep that in mind as we walk through Alex's process. All right, so this is Alex. He's an NBA sports podcaster. His audience listen because they want his perspective on games, players, injuries, maybe trends, and what those numbers actually mean. They want Alex's perspective. That's the value that he brings to his audience. But before Alex can give them that perspective, he has to do preparation before each of his episodes. So before every episode, Alex goes into a third-party software. He creates or he starts pulling information like the player's stats, the games, the teams, injury information, and so on. And then he takes all of that information and he builds a stat sheet that he can use during the show. Now, none of that sounds complicated, and it's not. However, it can be time consuming. So each individual step is reasonable. The problem doesn't become visible, when you book or look at the entire workflow. But think about your business in this. Do you have a process that isn't necessarily difficult, but you have to keep doing it over and over again before you can actually start doing the work that actually requires your expertise? That is what we're here for today. Now, here is Alex's manual grind. If you watch this show, you'll notice that each time I go through a scenario, I'm going to show you the manual process, and then with the bottleneck, and then an automation that would make that entire process better, quicker, faster, more efficient. So let's walk through Alex's current process. First, Alex decides which game or topic that his episode will focus on. And that's his human decision. Okay, we don't need to automate that. Alex knows his audience. He knows what's happening in the sports world. He knows exactly what conversations people are having. So he's going to make that decision. And then 2, he logs into the third-party software. This is a platform that he uses to research so that he can gather information for his episode. So it's pretty simple. But then we get to his bottleneck here at stage 3. Okay. He's moving through screens and he's finding individual pieces of information like players' numbers, team performance, injuries, recent games, and matchup history. And then each time, Alex is essentially telling the system, find this piece of information for me. Now find this other piece of information, and now this other piece. And then here's what I want you to notice. Alex, he's making very few meaningful decisions during this part of the process. He's mostly gathering information. So that's the automation signal. That's the signal that we have something that we can automate. If a person repeatedly retrieves structured information according to predictable rules, I want to investigate whether the system can retrieve and organize that information for them instead. And so then in step 4, Alex builds his stat sheet. This is another very manual part of his process because he takes everything that he just found and he organizes it into a document that he can use while he's recording. So now we have another layer of manual work. He isn't creating the underlying data, but he's moving and formatting it. And then finally, in his step 5, he reviews everything before recording. So this step, of course, will remain because Alex does need to review the information. Automation's not going to remove his accountability. The system's going to just prepare that stat sheet for him. So Alex still verifies what he's about to use on his show, and he brings that expertise. Now, we don't want to eliminate the outcome, okay? We want to redesign the path to the outcome. So let's go into a question. I have a question for you. Are you manually pulling data from third-party software before every episode or maybe every call or event? I want you to type yes, no, or you can put a 1, a 2, or a 3. Let me know if it doesn't even apply to your profession as well. Let me know in the chat. Okay. Thank you guys. Now, I don't want you to get stuck on the word data, okay? Because for a consultant, it may be client information before you do a strategy call, or from a recruiter, it could be candidate information before an interview. You're basically gathering information of some sort. Now, you could have the same type of bottleneck that Alex has. Now, let's go into the improved automation that we've planned here. Stick with me because I'm actually going to show you what that would look like in real life. So we're going to walk through the different steps, um, and then we're going to flip over to a real life um, example. So I call this app because this is an app that's doing this. It's called Courtside Brief, and it's built for Alex and his specific audience, his unique business. He's going to still select that matchup as he did before in step 1. He's going to choose the game or the topic that he wants to cover. And the system isn't going to, it's not deciding what Alex should care about. Like, Alex is making the editorial decision. And then that decision becomes the trigger because now we're pulling live data. So just imagine the third party software pushing data automatically, periodically into Alex's system. It's pulling live data maybe every hour or so. So instead of Alex opening multiple screens and searching through them, the system is pulling the information, retrieving all of the data for him, and pulling it into his app, where his app is going to take that data and it's going to organize it. So if you're not technical, okay, we're using an API for that. If you're not technical, don't let API scare you. It's just, think of it as one system asking another system for data. That's basically it. And then in step 3, this is where the system will organize his stats. He's going to eliminate another piece of manual work that Alex was doing before. The information comes back and the system sorts it into these categories, where there's player data, team data, game information, injury information. And the important thing isn't just retrieving the information, it's retrieving it in a structured way. And that is going to support the next step, which is step 4, because the system is going to take that organized information and build a working stat sheet automatically for Alex. Okay, so of course, AI or the automation doesn't become Alex. Alex is bringing the value here. And then in step 5 here, the information is arranged so that he can actually use it while he's recording. And we're going to get creative with this because we're going to offer some of this information to our audience. And I'm going to show you that when we get to the make more part of this approach. So the information is clean, it's consistent, it's easy to scan, and the goal isn't the pretty dashboard, even though we're going to have the pretty dashboard, but and they look nice, but the goal is reducing the cognitive load during the show, reducing the work that goes into preparing for the show. So Alex shouldn't be hunting for a number while he's trying to explain what a number means. And then in step 6, Alex selects the matchup, the system prepares the brief, Alex reviews it, and then he records. So my favorite part of this automation is actually what we did not automate, which was Alex's opinion, his analysis, his personality, what he brings to that value that he brings to his audience. And so, yeah, I feel like AI should support professionals. It's not going to take the place of that expertise. So let's go into the outputs that come from this. And when we say one input, 4 outputs, what we mean is we have one action that's being taken and then 4 things that automatically happen that is a result of that. Now, look what happens after Alex makes that decision. He selects the game or the matchup, and then from that one input, the system can prepare these 4 useful, very useful outputs. Now, who are the key performers? This is the player stat leaders, the key performers, the key stat lines for both or for the teams, for the game that Alex may be discussing with his audience. Instead of hunting for each stat individually, the information's already organized and ready to go. Because in 2 here, you'll see the injury report. The current injury status can materially change the way Alex discusses a game. So this information needs to be visible and it needs to be current. And the system's going to prepare that. Then third, you have the team trends, the recent form, scoring patterns, matchup tendencies. This is where raw numbers begin becoming useful context. So again, the system can organize this data, this evidence, and provide the interpretation, or Alex provides the interpretation. Then fourth, we have the head-to-head history. So previous results, past mashups, relevant historical statistics, so that Alex isn't starting with 4 research assignments for each of his episodes. He's starting with a decision, like what matchup are we covering? What game are we covering? And then these decisions activate the preparation process. Now, this is something that I want you to think about in your own business. What is the one decision that you can make that would trigger everything else? Like a new client, a booked consultation, a signed agreement, a completed form. Like these are triggers or things that can start a process for you or trigger a process. And sometimes the best automation doesn't begin with asking, what can AI do? It's more so what should happen automatically after that decision is made. And if you're trying to identify those opportunities in your own business, I want you to take the AI Business Growth Assessment. The link is in the description. It helps you identify where automation can save your business the most time and also, as a result, increase your revenue. And you can find that at success.successfulsolutions.com. Just checking in to see how you guys are doing. Of course, if you have questions at any point, leave them in the chat. I will absolutely get to those. And now, let's switch over for a second. I want to show you guys what Alex's system looks like. So, and this is the back end of his system, okay? This is what he sees. There's a dashboard. It's going to show some stats, some analytics. All of these things are readily available and accessible to Alex at any time. And again, like I told you before, the data is being pushed into his system automatically. But within the system, we are coding it to pull that data together in particular ways. And so some of these could look like this. The data, once it comes into the system, would be pulled into these tables, if you will. But then you can also display them in different ways. So we've got the box scores, the players. Maybe we organize that by position, the different teams, injury reports. So we're pulling all this information in. But here's the cool part. This is the back end. It's housing all of the data, but we're going to have a different side that I'm going to show you guys in just a second. So when Alex is ready, let's just say he chose a particular game and he's like, okay, this is what this episode is going to be over. And he wants to pull a stat sheet. literally click a button and then it provides his stat sheet. Then he has the ability to print it in PDF if he wants. So he can print his stat sheet out. He could share his stat sheet. Like there's no limit to what you could do here. There are so many things that people don't realize they can do with their system. And of course, I geek out on it just a little. But I want to show you guys the possibilities. Alex isn't spending time preparing manually and hunting down and copying and pasting and all. The system is doing all of that repetitive work, the organization, all the good things. Okay, so let me switch you guys back over. I'm going to show you something special here in a second. All right. Now, here's the business impact. This is basically what it's all about. Now, Alex is saving time. The hours of manual stat pulling are replaced at a single click. Fewer errors because that live API data is reducing mistakes as well. Then we've got more episodes that he can produce. Like, think about it. He can produce way more if he's not having to spend a bulk of his time in preparation for each episode. And then he has room to grow. He can scale without increasing the time that it takes for him to do preparation. So now we're at my favorite part, which is Alex is now freed up. He can do what only he can do. So now that the system is doing the prep work, he has the ability to spend time doing what he loves, what he enjoys, and being that personality that his audience is there to see. All right, now this is the fun part. I'm going to show you guys how in this scenario, a podcaster, really, it doesn't have to necessarily be a sports podcaster, but could create more revenue, like literally create a new revenue stream that is built into the system that doesn't add much more effort than that podcaster's already doing. Because what they could be doing was making their revenue from YouTube monetization already. Maybe they're endorsing brands. Maybe they receive tips and donations. But we're going to take that a step further. But before we do that, I just want to invite you guys again to take the AI Business Growth Assessment, because this is what's going to show you where you have some opportunity to automate inside of your own business. And then, of course, if you decide you want to take it a step further and build an actual revenue stream inside of your system, that is something we can also discuss. Okay, now we're going to go into the create more revenue. Okay, I know I said the other part was my favorite, but maybe this is my favorite because it's so creative, right? Things that we don't think about off the top of our head, but I want to get you guys to think a little deeper. Let's just say that Alex could increase his income by creating a fan membership. Now, that may not seem like anything new, but we're building it into his system to where he's not having to do anything extra. Okay. Let's just call his, let's just say he has two tiers, a free tier and a paid tier. Let's call his free tier Courtside Insider. Completely free, doesn't cost his audience anything. So he has his podcast on YouTube. In the description, he has a link a link to a landing page. And that landing page is basically going to invite them to join his Courtside Insider membership. So they're going to receive game and podcast alerts, which they can choose to do by email or text. And then they can access basic post-game stat sheets. participate in selected polls and predictions, and then view upcoming game schedules, scores, and so on. And then, of course, we want them to just stay updated on the latest podcast content. So then Alex can also introduce Courtside Club VIP. Let's just set the price at $19 a month. These VIP members are getting everything you would get in the free version, but they're also getting some members only ad-free episodes, so additional episodes. So that would be more work on Alex's part, which means maybe creating an extra episode per week that's specifically for his VIP audience. Post-game live shows, he could do replays, deeper stats and analysis, which we could build into the system to automatically do that. Exclusive polls and predictions, player watch lists, private community access, live Q&As, watch parties, special events, exclusive content, member discounts. Let's look and see how that would look behind the scenes. Now, when you have a YouTube channel, podcast, you may have lots of fans, followers, subscribers, but you don't have the ability to necessarily contact them. So one of the things you want to make sure of is that you are getting their contact information, their email address. You want to own your relationship with your fans, and that's what we want Alex to do. We want him to own his relationship with each one of his fans as much as possible, right? It's up to them. So let's just imagine he wakes up, he logs in, the app already has his game results, his stat sheet, an AI summary, meaning a summary that AI has gathered, player performance breakdown, poll, and member notification prepared and already accessible to his members. So he's got a lead magnet, landing page. You go to his YouTube, you watch his podcast, you click on that link that takes you to his landing page, which says, hey, get closer to the game. Join Courtside Insider for game alerts, post-game stat sheets, fan polls, predictions, the latest courtside brief delivered directly to you. Now, that stat sheet that I just showed you guys that Alex has the ability to generate at the click of a button, he could do that for any game. He could do that for anything that we have built into the system for him to be able to generate. He can share that with his audience, with his members. And then let's just say we give them the ability to choose, do you want your alerts by email, text, or both? And then, of course, that's automated. They can choose Courtside Insider, which is the free version. That is going to give them scores, stat sheets, polls, the podcast, replays, and then alerts. But then they will see the VIP features, but they're locked because they are in the free version. And then if they upgrade to VIP, they will get access to more advanced stats, free or ad-free episodes, a private community, player watch lists, and even more like predictions. And then this is how this could look, guys. Same system. So when Alex went in to prepare for his podcast episode, this is the same system, but there's another side where his members can have their own profile, log in, see everything. So if this wasn't a VIP profile, then some of this would be locked, maybe grayed out. But yes, they would have access to all of the things that is built into the system that is going to automatically be provided to them with no extra work from Alex, except for maybe creating additional episodes, which he'll have the bandwidth to do because he saves so much time with preparation. Okay, guys, so I am so excited to show this to you. Again, if you are interested in finding out where you could better automate for your own business, take the AI Business Growth Assessment. It's going to help you identify, take about 3 minutes, and it's going to be delivered to you within, just a couple of minutes. And you can find that at success.successfulsolutions.com. Now I'm going to take some questions if you have any questions. Let's check and see. Any questions at all? Amazing, amazing, amazing. Let's switch us over. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, I just want to leave you with this question. What professional service would you like for me to build a revenue system for next? It could be a financial advisor, recruiter, bookkeeper, marketing consultant, a real estate professional. I want you to put it in the comments because I do read those suggestions and they could help me decide what to do in future episodes. Now, if this episode helped you look at your own processes differently, then my job is done. Please subscribe so that you can join me again next Wednesday. All right, guys, until next time, keep building revenue systems that sell while you sleep.